It's Gary Parrish. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do. To the like button, shouts to Brandon Davies. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel, please also do that while you're here. Let's get into it. I want to start with LSU, and not because I think LSU is about to win a national championship or even the SEC. I want to start with LSU because at least Matt McMahon had whatever you need to have to agree to go play a true road game against a Big 12 program on the 11th day of the season. Yeah. Not everybody is as brave, Norlander. The basketball gods, if there are such a thing, they rewarded the Tigers for their bravery. Final score, LSU 76, Kansas State 65. It was inside Bramlage Coliseum, otherwise known as the Octagon of Doom, otherwise known as the house that Michael Beasley built, otherwise known as the Jacob Pullen Coliseum, Bill Walker Coliseum, Rodney Magruder Coliseum, could also be Marquise Noel Coliseum. Norlander, first question, is LSU really good, or did Kansas State just waste a bunch of money in the transfer portal?
Which one's more likely to be true? I would think the former. And we got a huge Friday, and we're going to get to our games, and I'll give you the other heads up on other games. But the way that the schedule broke down this particular season, and maybe this becomes the pattern moving forward, is I love seeing this. LSU at K-State, and because starting next week, we'll have more MTEs, more neutral site events, and you got a little of that to start the season. This is the weekend where we're getting a lot of high major versus high major in true home/road environment. Love to see it. And this was the most notable game on the slate, basically, since we last talked there. I think it's more LSU, and I think there's a good chance I'm going to be wrong on this. I did not listen. You got to own your misses, GP. I did not put LSU in my preseason top 101. I considered them in like the 90s, but at a certain point, you're looking at 25 different teams to put in the final 10 spots there, and I just wasn't sure. And the SEC is so loaded and big at this point. I was like, are we going to have every single SEC team rank as a top 100 team? Yeah, well, we might. We really might. LSU looked really good. Cam Carter, the former K-State guard, by the way, now playing for LSU, had a game-high 20 in this one. So that was kind of the most obvious notable thing. And, K-State did not look good. It only had 7 turnovers, but aside from that, it looked like a team. I don't want to say it was out of sorts, but it very much looked like they were playing a pickup game, and everyone kind of said, dapped each other up and met each other 15 minutes before they got playing. They're out of sorts. Coleman Hawkins only had 8 points, 2 of them in garbage time after he committed a pretty hard foul late when the game had already been decided there. Brandon Howson, a transfer, only had 8. Max Jones, a transfer, only had 2. Doug McDaniel did have 16, but Hawkins, widely reported, including by yours truly, an NIL deal with everything included worth north of $2 million. He was 3 of 10 from the floor, just 4 boards, 2 assists, and you're going to need to see more than that. K-State probably it was definitely a top 5 team in the portal in terms of spending. It really probably was in the top 3 in terms of how much it was willing to go out and spend. Arkansas, obviously, in that conversation as well, and a troubling way to start the season, Parrish, just to have a no-show game and lose by double digits on your home floor to a team picked 14th in the preseason in the SEC.
Yeah, Jerome Tang in his post-game press conference, he didn't say it exactly that way, but he did say, I want to apologize to the fans. We were not ready to play, and that's on me. It was an interesting game, between unranked teams, because these are programs from the 2 leagues that are supposed to be the 2 best this season. Jerry Palm in his preseason projected bracket had 11 SEC teams in it. Ken Palm had the SEC rated higher than the Big 12 heading into the season. It still is there. So when you're looking at it from that perspective, when you've got the team projected to finish 14th in the SEC going to the team that's projected to finish 8th in the Big 12 and winning on the road by double digits. Let me just stop there. Does that say anything to you broadly about the leagues, or is it's just a game?
No, I would go just one game. Yeah. Just one game. However, we may well come to, I put K-State 24th in my preseason rankings, and sometimes these are indicative of where teams could be going. So we might come to learn, like K-State's now, I think, outside the top 60 at KenPom this morning, but may come to learn that Kansas State isn't a tournament team, and LSU, like, we get them every year. No matter how much we might try and identify who's going to be the team that can pop, that's really a lot of people aren't seeing. We might come to learn that LSU finishes 7th in the SEC. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it finishes 14th, exactly where it's picked. But this is more of an individual thing and a micro result. But I obviously picked up on what you did there in terms of SEC Big 12. Who's going to be the better league? Well, here's one game to start examining on it. And LSU, they just had no doubt about it. In particular, I mean, they got 39% of their misses on the offensive boards. They were all over K-State in the paint to a level where I would imagine practice and film for the Wildcats will not be fun over the next 72 hours.
Yeah, if you're keeping up with the leagues right now, the SEC schools are 43-5 after LSU's win at Kansas State. Only Texas A&M, Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, and South Carolina have lost so far. And the A&M, Texas, and Arkansas losses are all to ranked teams. Meantime, the Big 12's 41-4. Gonzaga is responsible for 2 of the 4 losses.
I'm sorry. Isn't that a WCC program?
Yes. A W is. How can you be the best league in the country when you're getting smacked around by a WCC program?
Yeah.
That's a reasonable question to ask on a Friday. Big 12, 41-4. 2 of those 4 losses are to Gonzaga. The Zags have beaten Baylor and Arizona State. I don't know if you saw who they get tonight, the Zags, by the way.
You think I don't know? You think I don't realize they're playing Elvis Presley's alma mater on Friday night? You think I almost didn't put that game as the and one of the Final 4 and 1? I didn't,
careful.
But I thought about it.
Be careful. The king is watching from above. Houston, Baylor, Arizona State, Kansas State. Those are the 4 Big 12 teams that have lost. Houston, Baylor, Arizona State. Those are the ranked teams. So, both leagues are performing pretty well right now. We'll see where it goes from here. But like, as we said in the preseason, it will not be surprising to most if those 2 leagues combine for like 20 bids to the NCAA tournament.
I think that is conceivable on the table. We definitely need to get another at least 3 weeks into the season, some more data points and results to really know. Real quick on the Big 12, the only other game that caught my eye on Thursday was Arizona State did beat Grand Canyon 87-76. Josan Sanon had a good game. He had 21 points there. And Jaden Quaintance, he's a defensive menace. So that was a good win for Arizona State, which may be similar to LSU, like maybe underrated like LSU. We'll see if those teams can really overshoot expectations. But you had mentioned the Big 12 teams that had gone down to Gonzaga, Arizona State being the other one there. They got a nice win over a Grand Canyon team that could again flirt with, it had 30 wins last season. It could flirt with that number again and be among the best bid majors in the country.
Next up for Kansas State, you get Tuesday's game with the Delta Devils from Mississippi Valley State. Next up for LSU, they're also playing again on Tuesday. That'll be against Charleston Southern. Let's move on. Norlander went to Chicago. We both went to Chicago. But Norlander stayed an extra day. Spent some time with DePaul coach Chris Holtmann. Wrote about it this week. We'll get into that next. But first, let's get a word from our partners. So after we both attended Big Ten Media Day in Chicago last month, Norlander, you stayed an extra day, went to see former Butler and Ohio State coach Chris Holtmann at his new spot. That's DePaul. Among other things, you asked him, why'd you take this job? Because a lot of people were asking that question when he took that job. How did he obviously, I know how he answered the question, but this is the way you do it. How did he answer that question?
Yeah, let's link this in the pod description here if you haven't read the story. What was funny is, I went to practice and I basically reached out and was like, hey, I want to come to practice, maybe do a little story. It's like, okay, sure. Not sure why. And so then I went to practice and then did the interview after. And the first thing he said as we kind of like got settled in was like, he was like chuckling. He's like, why do you want to, he's like, I appreciate this, but why do you want to write about me in DePaul? And I was like, because I want to know why you decided to take this job. I had not really talked to him about this since he did that. And then that's when he kind of, how the story starts. And he was like, you know what, what's crazy is everyone is asking me this. Like, it has been consistent. Every interview I've done, coaches out on the recruiting trail, there just is this sick, this is my paraphrasing. He didn't use this exact phrase, but this sick curiosity of like, why did you choose to do this? Now, the question is fair because DePaul has been awful, like on a level that I truly didn't think was possible for a program in a high major conference. And DePaul has been in the Big East here for close to 2 decades. The wow stat in the piece is, well, there's a couple. The wow stat of all, and you read the story, so I won't trivia time you on this. 263 programs, 263, have made the NCAA tournament since DePaul's streak or non-streak, its drought began in 2005. It has been that long, 2 decades of not making the NCAAs. And when you're playing in it was at that point a 65 team field and then into a 68 team field, to not even have 1 year where you can squeak in as an 11 seed or a 12 seed is astounding. And they've only had 1 season, GP, above 500 in league play over the past 17, 18 years. So the job just has been a vortex of suck, as I wrote there. And the reason why he took the job was a couple reasons. One, kind of the wow quote to me was, he was getting into a bunch of reasons, and then he kind of was, thinking about what he was going to say next as he was explaining himself, and he just said, "I'm an asshole when I get bored." And first of all, you and I knowing Holtmann, to picture him being he's considered one of the nicest guys in the profession. So that was certainly an interesting vision to try and picture there. But he's like, I thought about taking the year off, thought about doing media maybe. But basically, after not being around coaching for less than a month, he got fired on Valentine's Day. So basically, by like the first week of March, he was like, I don't know about this. He's got a daughter who's a freshman in high school this year. Wasn't going to do a deal where he was a year off, stayed in Greater Columbus, and then he gets a job wherever and then moves her in high school. He did not want to do that. So that also pushed him. And then the more he thought about the job, and he got approached on it in February, and he got pitched on it. And he didn't accept it first, but he was thinking. It started to appeal to him, as he told me, in ways he didn't even understand, where he knows how bad it is. He consulted with a number of people in his life, not just coaches, not just agents, not just family members. A lot of people like, what do you think on this job? He wanted input. And even as a lot of people were telling him, do not take this job. Like, this is hideous. You can get a better job in a year or 2 at the latest. There's no reason to take this on. He found himself wanting to do it. And it's because it is so hard to do, and because the outcome can be so good on the other end, if it works, to him, it is worth the risk, because he acknowledges, and this isn't in the story, but like, if it goes badly, it's not to say he'll never get another head coaching job again. He'll never coach at the high major level again as a head coach if this flames out, even as bad as DePaul has been. Just unlikely to happen there, and he's willing to take that risk. It's a fascinating deal here. DePaul got the best candidate it possibly could. I would think you would agree with me on that, GP. There wasn't a guy out there that was a reasonable candidate that had a better resume than Chris Holtmann. It went sideways at the end at Ohio State, but now we wait and see if this program can finally do it. And by do it, I mean, just, can you finish 6th in the Big East, by year 3 or year 4, and get into the tournament? If you can do that, the turnaround would be remarkable. On that note, DePaul's off to a 3-0 start. It's won a couple of games against easy opponents, but won them by 30-plus points. It had not done that in 24 years, and it plays at home against Duquesne on Friday night.
They've already, since the beginning of the season, moved up 27 spots at KenPom. Now, that still has them like way down there in the hundreds, but move in the right direction at least. For people who might be wondering, hey, DePaul's got basketball history. It's a Big East program. It's in Chicago. What's the problem? What is the problem? Why do people find it difficult to succeed at that job when a lot of the stuff theoretically is in place to be successful?
I think one, so Chicago, there's a variety of factors. One, DePaul for the most part has lagged far behind in, if you're a recruit, not even 5-star and 4-star level, but those, they've also had issues there for a long time. Chicago, for the most part, is usually reliable for some really good talent year in, year out. But if you were recruited at that level, this is all obviously pre-NIL and all that stuff, and you'd go to the campus and you'd see what they were doing, and even before they built Wintrust 7 years ago. It just wasn't nearly on the level of most other programs in the Big East, just the way the layout, the setup, and all that stuff. And even by late 80s, early 90s, DePaul was still respectable. Like, it was still winning enough games, but then it hits this stage in the late 90s and then into the 2000s. There was a couple of decent years under Jerry Wainwright. Shouts to him, of course. But it got behind in the race, and then just it could not hire the guy to straighten it out, to get the right kind of recruits. And if you can't do that, I think it kind of festers from the inside. And then it became, if not a self-fulfilling prophecy, just a state of affairs that seemed unavoidable. Like, DePaul has become, and we'll see if it changes under Holtmann pretty quick here, but you can still use this in the present tense, like, still is, like, it's just like, it's the quirky, funny little cousin that everyone makes fun of, because it's just, when it actually wins a game it's not supposed to, like, we have fake enthusiasm over it because we're just waiting to see if anything ever changes there. So it was important for Holtmann to get assurances on NIL, which has increased significantly. And it's not like in the top half of the Big East or anything like that, but it's way, 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 way better than it was a year ago, let alone 2 years ago. And, assurances from the school president about this new practice facility that they're going to put in and break ground on next year. Like, these things, it wasn't just like, yeah, we're going to do it. It's like, no, it's got to be understood, like, that if this happens, like, we need that building up in like 3 years. Like, we need tangible stuff there. So a couple of different areas there on that GP, but there is an element that I think is almost inexplicable. Like, when a program gets so bad, it feeds upon itself. And then, as I wrote, like, this was the nadir. Last year, they won 3 games. They were sub 300 in KenPom. It was the worst final ranking for a team in a high major conference in KenPom's database going back to 1997. There had never been a power conference program. And let's be clear on this distinction. DePaul is in a power conference. It has not been a power conference program, but regardless, it's in the Big East. So there had never been a team in a high major league that had a worse season than DePaul last year. Maybe it needed to truly and utterly bottom out in order to find a way to crawl out and get some daylight. And now the big question is, can Chris Holtmann do it? Will Chris Holtmann do it? I'm intrigued. I think he's got a chance, but I'm not convinced it will absolutely happen, because the track record over the past 25 plus years has been so terrible that it's going to take a lot, and I mean a lot, to finally get this program just to respectability, let alone, a true nature of thriving.
If you're a DePaul fan, I think you can find some optimism in the fact that you hired a guy who, as recently as 3-4 years ago, was considered one of the best 20 coaches in the sport, and who has already won at a disadvantaged Big East school. Is that a reasonable thing to say about Butler?
Yeah, I think so. He had actually mentioned Gardner Webb in particular, where he was a head coach, 13, 14 years ago, and the stuff that he went through there. But yeah, Butler as well. If you look at the circumstances under which he took over that job, not the same, but he has some experience here, and I think his successes in part of led him to why he made this job change.
Good piece. If you haven't read it yet, you can find it cbssports.com. That's cbssports.com. Up next, we'll turn our attention to the Final 4 and 1, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. We're going to do that in a minute. First, though, word from our partners.
Saturdays at 3:30. It's big time. Saturday on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
It's time for the Final 4 and 1, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Norlander, you went 4 and 1 last week, I believe.
Oh, Nada, can you confirm that? By the way, I did not check the record. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, you indeed did go 4 and 1, and GP went 3 and 2. So he's not that far back to start the season.
But this is the week I plan to reestablish my dominance in the Final 4 and 1, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
All right. Reestablish your dominance. Nada, you want that music, or you want me to do it? I can get this. I can get this Final 4.
I got the music. Trust me.
Let's go. It's a Friday morning. This Friday slate. I hope you're listening to this and watching this on Friday morning, early afternoon. We have a terrific Friday schedule. Let's go.
Game 1, Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's number 2 Alabama at number 13 Purdue inside Zach Edey Arena. You can watch it on the Peacock app. Alabama, 2.5-point favorite on the road. That's disrespectful.
Is it?
They've won 21 straight games inside Mackey Arena. Somebody's being disrespectful.
These teams played last season. Do you remember the game? Yes or no? Be honest.
Yes. Neutral court and UConn. No. Alabama lost to UConn in the Final Four.
Yes.
Neutral court early, and Alabama got Zach Edey.
Correct. This was an incredible game. This was the game last year that happened on the Saturday with all the awesome games in mid-December. We'll get that again in a month here. Yes, but speaking of UConn, both of these teams got bounced in the Final Four by the Huskies, of course. Awesome game. This is a home-and-home series, so they'll play in Tuscaloosa next year. Last year's game was 92-86. Zach Edey and Mark Sears both had 35 in this matchup a year ago. Sears hit 8 3-pointers. Braden Smith had 27 points and 8 assists. So I'm hoping that Sears and Smith can give us some awesome encore performances. A note from Purdue here. There's going to be 21 teams and 23 NBA scouts at this game on Friday. And according to Purdue, it's believed to be the most NBA teams at a Purdue, I guess it's a Purdue home game in 30 years, which is kind of shocking. But good on the NBA and its scouts for not getting at least 21 teams into the building to watch Zach Edey, who might win Rookie of the Year. What are we doing? Alabama is now playing its highest, Alabama is the highest ranked non-conference team to play at Mackey since the first game they ever played in this building on December 6, 1967. Number 1 UCLA. Purdue lost 73-71. That was obviously that's kind of cool actually after the fact. I didn't even think about this. So Purdue's first game ever at Mackey was in 67. And the first team that ever plays there is is coached by Purdue alum, John Wooden. That's actually really, really awesome there. A 73-71 game. I would take a 2-point game. No question about it. If you're curious on how Purdue is done against teams of this level, it's 3-1 at home in its history against number 2 ranked teams. And to what GP just mentioned, Purdue has not lost a non-con regular season game in a bit here. December 8th, 2020 at Miami was the last time Purdue lost a non-con game in the regular season there. So that's tied for the 5th longest streak in the history of men's D1. And they've beaten 7 teams in the top 11 in that span there. Meantime, Alabama has lost 6 straight road games against ranked opponents. That being said, I'm gonna take Alabama, GP. My preseason number 1 team. Purdue is down at starting center for the season, most likely, and I'm gonna take the team on the road. This is an awesome. I could be way wrong. We'll talk about Purdue if they win by 12, and I'll own it the whole way. But give me the Tide in this game, and this is an absolute treat. We got plenty more here, but just the fact that we're getting this on a Friday where it's not buried by football stuff on Saturday and Sunday, schedule really came through in a big way here on the second Friday of the season.
Bro, it's buried by a 58-year-old fighting a 27-year-old.
We'll get to that before the show's over. I wanted to ask you about that. And it is absolutely not buried by that. This game will be done and over before Mike Tyson fights Jake Paul.
You mentioned Braden Smith. He's been awesome. He is averaging a career high in points, assists, rebounds, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage. That's the good news. The bad news is that his 6.3 rebounds per game leads Purdue. You can't have your 6-foot point guard leading you in rebounding. Hey, how much is Purdue going to miss Zach Edey? Well, their 6-foot point guard is going to lead them in rebounding through 3 games.
And by the way, he is, and this is no slight. He is maybe 6 feet. We saw him at Big Ten Media Day. Yeah. He is a hell of a player. The fact that he's leading the team in rebounding at his size is ridiculously impressive. But yes, if you're Purdue, you can't have that be the same.
Zach averaged 12.5 rebounds per game over the past 2 seasons combined. Obviously, Daniel Jacobson was supposed to fill some of that. He's the 7'4" freshman. As you mentioned, he's likely out for the year. Broke his tibia last Friday in a victory over Northern Kentucky. Matt Painter said the other night, he said, listen, Alabama's great. You could take their reserves and build a top 25 team. By the way, is that hyperbolic, or do you believe that? Do you think we could take Alabama's bench and build a top 25 team?
Might be hyperbolic there. But, Painter doesn't say that. Like, he is not a coach that says stuff like that just as empty platitudes. If he says it, he probably believes it, and he's such a good coach that there might be some truth to it. But top 25 for your next 5 off the bench, I would stop short of that.
Yeah, you're right. Matt doesn't talk like that often, which made me, my ears perk up a little bit. Like, okay, I don't know that I would rank Alabama's bench in the top 25 and 1, but they're good. They're really, really good. I'm 60% Boilermaker.
I thought that was over.
I mean, I haven't lived through it. Once you're 60% Boilermaker, it doesn't just all go away in one off season. So in fairness, I might not still be 60% Boilermaker, but there's a part of me.
Are you starting to regenerate like Doctor Who? So it's maybe, are you down to like 38%?
I don't think it's that low, but it's somewhere probably between 38 and 60.
Let's call it 46%.
I'm like 46% Boilermaker still.
Okay.
They moved Zach Edey straight down here with me, so he's rubbing off on me a little bit. We're coworkers now, me and Zach Edey. So I gotta trust the building as somebody who's 46% Boilermaker.
Okay, so this has nothing to do with Painter or his players.
No.
It's more about the building.
It's more about the building and my percentage of Boilermaker.
Okay.
I will take Purdue plus the 2.5.
Okay.
Game 2, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, number 15 Marquette at Maryland inside Gravis Vasquez Center. You can watch it on FS1. Maryland minus 2.5. The ranked team is an underdog on the road.
I think that's a fair situation there. This is the second time these schools have ever met. Maryland won in 2019. Maryland's had 3 players with at least 20 points in the first 3 games of the season. Derek Queen, Rodney Rice, Julian Reese. Some good spreading of the sugar there. Kevin Willard has yet to beat a ranked opponent in the non-conference since he got to Maryland, so he has a wonderful chance to do it there. Marquette, okay. Cam Jones, good start. 22.7 points, 6.3 assists. He's shooting 69 from the field and is shooting 53% from three-point range. If he continues and finishes the season at 53% from three-point range, he'll probably be the player of the year. So that number is going to probably tick down. We'll see if it does in this game or not. But other than that, other than Cam Jones, Marquette's not been good from 3. It's sub 30% so far. And they got pushed by Central Michigan on Monday. Now, they won the game, but if you watched, as I did, they were sweating a little bit there. So I like to start Maryland's off to. They get the game at home. They've won each of their first 3 games by 30 or more points for the first time in school history. Hello. Give me Maryland straight up. Give me the Terps to win and to get to 4-0 and do some damage here with a great shot at home on Friday. I know Scott Van Pelt will be in the building, and it's going to be a big time matchup, big time affair. I love the fact that we're getting games like this, but I will go with the Terps to hold serve in their home joint.
To be clear, it's Maryland minus 2.5, so you're laying 2.5.
Yep.
Maryland's one of those teams that I did not one point this offseason have in the top 25 and 1. But when I started diving into them, I was like, "Ugh, I wonder if I should." Like, they check a lot of boxes. They brought some key pieces back. They've got some experience. They enrolled the 5-star freshman. They've got a coach who's proven competent. I know maybe this hasn't, started off as quickly as Maryland fans might have wanted, but like Kevin's, I think he's going to win there. And I think tonight, I agree with you. I'm trusting the building. I'm a building truster. I'm a building truster. I'm going to trust the building. And I don't like picking against my little homie from Memphis, Cam Jones. I'm not comfortable with that. But I'm going to trust the building. I'm with you. I'll lay Maryland minus 2.5. Game 3, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's number 21 Ohio State at number 23 Texas A&M inside AC Law Arena. You can watch that one on the SEC Network.
If you're going to say his name, say it in full, please.
AC Law, was he the 4th?
You're damn right he was the 4th.
This is crazy.
And there better be an AC Law the 5th walking on the terra firma somewhere, okay?
Already, there should be one by now.
There better be. At this point,
I don't want to put pressure on AC. I don't like it when people put pressure on other people to have children.
That's also true.
AC,
I'm cool with your life choices. I'm just saying, if there happens to be an AC Law the 5th, it would bring me tremendous joy on this Friday.
I want there to be an AC Law the 5th, but no pressure. I don't want to put that kind of pressure on AC or anybody else. But how is it possible? Does A&M just get all the best force?
They do.
They had an AC Law the 4th and a Wade Taylor the 4th.
That's correct.
Like, if you're the 4th and you're good at basketball, you have to go to Texas A&M.
That's right. If you're the 4th in line in your family's name, your destiny has been fulfilled, and you must go to College Station.
It's the only NCAA rule that still exists.
That's
Every other NCAA rule is out the window. You can pay players. fraudulent transcripts. The only rule that still exists is if you are the fourth, you have to go play for Buzz Williams at Texas A&M. Texas A&M minus 6.5. That's a big number against Jake Diebler.
6.5?
That's a big number against Jake Diebler. I mean, I don't even know if you understand the updated list of coaches who have been Dieblered. I'll give it to you real quick.
Go ahead.
The following coaches have been Dieblered in the past year: Matt Painter, Tom Izzo, Fred Hoiberg, Juwan Howard, Steve Peichel, Fran McCaffrey, Brian Earl, Mike Young, Rodney Terry, and most recently, Ethan Faulkner. Ethan Faulkner got Dieblered.
You didn't know who Ethan Faulkner was until, I'm going to say, an hour and a half ago.
I know who William Faulkner was.
Yeah. Okay. Good old Billy. 6.5.
Youngstown State. Shouts to Youngstown State.
He's in his first year there. It seems split a year ago. Texas A&M won at Ohio State. Let's kind of help lead to Chris Holtmann getting fired. Bruce Thornton, 16 points, 5 boards, 4 dimes this season. He had 25-5 against Texas, against the high major opponent that Ohio State's already played. He's shooting outrageous. Again, we're 2-3 games in the season, so these numbers are going to come down. But he's hitting 75% of his shots so far. He's doing well. A&M has rebounded after losing to UCF, won their past 2 games by 25-plus points against by opponents. Ohio State has opted to schedule 4 SEC opponents this season, by the way. So they played Texas, and they still got Auburn and Kentucky in December to come. So we'll see how they do as an honorary member of the SEC here. The Buckeyes have been shooting well, particularly from 3. They've made at least 10 trays in their first 2 games. John Mobley Jr. Has hit 7 of his 8, and he's a guy to watch. He's about 5'10", 5'11", and a really good shooter, and could emerge as one of the more surprising, impactful freshmen in the country. Not saying he'll be a top 10 guy, but could be a guy that matters on a level that we didn't see coming there. How about Wade Taylor IV, by the way, not being the leading scorer at A&M to this point in the season? Senior guard Jerk Phelps, he's averaging 17 a game. Meantime, Taylor averaging 12.7, but 5.3 assists, which I think is a good development. The number, I think we're on the same page here, Parrish. The number is too big, and after seeing how many, I mean, there's a lot of guys that have gotten Dieblered. I gotta go Ohio State to cover this number.
DeJuan Wagner IV, 2054 National Player of the Year for the Aggies. What do you think?
I think it's written in the stars.
You know how much I respect buildings.
You don't respect this building.
I do respect this building.
You do not. You've got no respect for this building.
It's AC Law the 4th Arena. I respect the arena. Okay. 6.5 is a big number to give to Jake Diebler.
And you either respect the building or you don't respect the building.
I respect the building, but that's
and you're taking A&M.
But that's too much respect.
No.
Well, what are you supposed to do when you have a building you respect? On one hand, you have a building you respect, but on the other hand, it's Diebler.
Trying to have your cake and eat it too, and I still don't know what the hell that saying means, but that's what you're doing.
On one hand, you got a building that you respect, and on the other hand, you got a Diebler. It's a tough spot. Here, so you split the difference. You say, I think Texas A&M wins because of the building, but that's too big of a number to give Diebler. I'll take the 6.5 points with Ohio State. Game 4, Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern. It's Colorado State versus number 25 Ole Miss. It's inside the Kelly Parrish Center. You can watch it on ESPN+. Kim Palm's got that one. Ole Miss. The Rebels -4.
I've checked GP's favorite resource center here, Wikipedia. The proverb literally means you cannot simultaneously retain possession of a cake and eat it too. So you can't actually have the cake and eat it. It's got to be one or the other. Okay, whatever you say.
I'll possess a cake. What are you talking about? I can possess a cake.
You can't possess it and eat it too. Once the cake is eaten, it's gone. It can't be. It can be used to say that one cannot have 2 incompatible things, and one should not try to have.
Well, then why couldn't that be said about anything? You can't have your pizza and eat it too.
That, you know what?
You can't have your spaghetti and eat it too. Why can't
I like that one. You can't have your spaghetti and eat it too. Let's go.
Let's use that from now on.
So you can't have your spaghetti and eat it too.
Get it into a column.
Hold on. I actually had I had angel hair last night. Angel hair, technically not spaghetti, but got into that a little bit. Is spaghetti a good enough food to use for this updated metaphor?
Yeah, but if we could think of a better one, like a more ridiculous one, like you can't have your butternut squash and eat it.
No.
I like butternut squash.
I do too. It's definitely not. It's not remotely good.
You can't have your Brussels sprouts and eat them too.
No.
You can't have your corn on the cob and eat it too.
That's
hold up. could you have your corn on the cob and eat it too? Because you eat the corn, but you keep the cob.
You do keep the cob.
You could have your corn on the cob and eat it too. So many flaws with this.
Just broke through on it entirely there. We'll take any other additional recommendations in the chat here. Did you call this the Kelly Parrish Center?
Yeah, this is happening in South Haven, Mississippi. Kelly Parrish, graduate of South Haven High School.
Okay. Nick Clifford's been on a tear to start the season for Colorado State. 21 points per game. Jalen Lake 16. CSU is a quality Mountain West opponent. Again, this is not a headline type of game, but this is. If you're here, you're dialed in on Friday watching the pod. We love you. Continue to smash the like button. Please share with all your friends, family, and pals and gals. If you're listening, you love a matchup like this because it's not the first, second, the third, maybe the fourth best matchup of the weekend. But to see a program of CSU's quality to go play at Mississippi and for Ole Miss to host this kind of game, it's really, really good stuff. Offense has been lacking on both ends for these teams to this point in the season. I don't know what the over/under in this game, and I'm not outright recommending any kind of betting here. But it wouldn't surprise me if the under wound up hitting here because teams have struggled. Both of these teams have struggled on each end. Ole Miss has kind of had a rotating cast of MVP so far this season. I'll go with Chris Beard's team in this spot to win and cover the number, but yeah, it feels like this might be a little bit more of a toss-up than you might think.
You still haven't patched things up with Nico Medved, huh?
No. Definitely won't be getting any profiles written about him anytime soon for sure.
Both of these teams are undefeated. Ole Miss 3-0, but Ole Miss has dropped. I don't know if you noticed this. Started the season 46th at KenPom, has dropped to 62nd despite starting 3-0. Ole Miss second
because they've struggled against bad teams.
They shouldn't do that.
And they shouldn't, but now they're about where I had them in the preseason, so there we go.
I would tell them not to do that anymore. They're the second lowest team at KenPom that is currently in the AP poll. Number 25 in the AP poll, number 62 at KenPom. Trivia time.
Yeah.
Who's the lowest rated team at KenPom that is currently in the AP top 25 poll?
It's not Mississippi.
Nope. There's one worse.
Give me a conference hint.
Big Ten.
This is the worst ranked team in the AP top 25. Trying to think. Hold on.
They enrolled 2 5-star freshmen.
Rutgers.
Yeah, Rutgers. Rutgers is number 24 in the AP poll, but 63rd at KenPom. So one spot ahead of Ole Miss in the AP poll, but one spot below Ole Miss at KenPom. I like Ole Miss. I know they haven't performed to expectations so far, but I think they handle this and move to 4-0. I'll take Ole Miss minus the 4.
Have we agreed on every game?
I hope not.
Nada?
No, you have not.
I respected the building in West Lafayette.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
You don't have respect for the building in West Lafayette, but I do.
All right, I'll go the and one, then I'll give you the heads up on all the other games to know. Friday. Someone noted in the chat used to hate picking Friday games. Now this is the way. We've got a 9 Eastern tip on Peacock. And Arizona at Wisconsin, GP. On Alondo Tucker Court.
Yeah.
Loved Alondo Tucker's game. The line is Arizona minus 4.5. These teams, this is another home and home situation. So Arizona won this game a year ago in Tucson by 25 points. Caleb Love, if you're curious, preseason All-American, 13.5 points, 3.5 boards, 3.5 assists, and not a single turnover yet this season. He's hitting almost 39% from three-point range. And in this game last year, he had 20.7 boards, 5 assists. Zona minus 4.5 on the road against Bucky. Who do you taking?
It's another great building. I mean, in all seriousness, all of these games that we're focusing on are going to have incredible environments.
It's going to be an awesome Friday night.
Except for probably Colorado State, Ole Miss, and South Haven. That'll be.
Well, I mean, it's a home game. Why can't that be good?
South Haven's about an hour from Oxford.
Oh, it's not. Oh, okay, so this is now. I understand. This is not actually. It's not on Now I
It's gonna
understand.
go, no, South Haven's a suburb of Memphis.
Yeah, no, I got you. I was thinking that it was right there.
If you're coming down 55 South straight through Memphis, Tennessee,
Yeah.
when you cross into Mississippi, you're in South Haven. It's the tip of Mississippi.
Why didn't he schedule this? Oh, well, anyway, continue.
I don't know. So, yeah, it's going to be, this is
You're right. Yes.
yeah, this is not going to be an insane environment, I wouldn't assume. Like tonight, the Memphis Hustle are playing there. Armando Bacot will be inside the Kelly Perry Center tonight. Tomorrow, Matthew Morrell. But all these other games that we're focused on, incredible environments, including Arizona, Wisconsin. I don't know how good Wisconsin is this season.
This is our first look at them and to see what they can do. That's right.
Yeah, but I'm going to take Arizona. It's just, what am I laying? 2? I'll lay 2 with Arizona.
Laying 2. I had it at 4.5.
Where'd you have it at 4.5?
I mean, that's what it was when I checked before I went to bed last night. Did it get changed overnight? I checked the CBS Sports college basketball scoreboard. I'll look right now. Hold on. Let me check right now. I'll update this in real time.
Okay.
Today is, okay, so this is last night's game.
You might be right.
Hold on. It is scrolling down. Oh God, there's so many 7 o'clock tips.
Jesus.
Now it's 4. So Arizona -4, Nada for the graphic. -4 Arizona.
I don't like laying 4 points on the road in a place like the Kohl Center, but I'll do it. I'll take Arizona. I'll lay the 4.
According to Ken Palm, Arizona just held Old Dominion to 0.59 points per possession. It's most recent. It's insane. Now, don't get me wrong, Old Dominion's not good, but to hold a team under 0.6 points per possession, that's crazy. 8th best defensive performance by an Arizona team in the history of the database there, and they only scored 44 points in total. That was the best defensive performance, obviously, since Tommy Lloyd's gotten there. Keep an eye on the first 8 minutes of this game because Arizona has been outrunning teams immediately. Now, again, the opponents aren't anything to write home about, but they have not made an issue of it. And going into a hostile environment, can they get to the under 12 mark? And we're looking up, and it's 19-8 or whatever. And then Wisconsin's got to climb out of a hole. I'd keep an eye on that overall. Wisconsin has lost 5 of its past 6 games against ranked opponents. Arizona obviously ranked here. This is a big shot. You get the game on your home floor. A really good opportunity. John Tonje, former Nico Medved player, by the way, 17.7 points per game to start. Max Klessman has 16, and Wisconsin has 5 guys averaging double figures in scoring so far this season. Would be refreshing if they could show up and that building really help them out. But I will go Arizona to cover the number there. So give me the Wildcats to get it done and pull away late. Other games to know before we get out of here. Friday, we got all sorts of stuff, and it gets going at 5 Eastern. Virginia versus Villanova on TNT at 5 Eastern in Baltimore. That's it's a big game for both programs here. Virginia's first power conference opponent, and the guy they thought was Jalen Worley, their projected starting point guard. He went into the portal about a week and a half after Tony Bennett retired, and so they're kind of doing it by committee. We'll see how they adjust. Villanova, we know the deal there. Big game, 5 Eastern. You can cook your dinner while you watch it there on the East Coast. Florida at Florida State, 6 Eastern on ACC Network. Florida just got an international player cleared. He will play in this game. Could be pretty good. We'll see what happens there. FSU, wait and see. We're waiting on that. TCU at Michigan, 6 Eastern on FS1 Friday night. Loyola Chicago at Princeton is a 7 Eastern tip on Peacock. That is a really, really good mid-major matchup tucked in the middle of a pretty loaded Friday slate here. FAU at Charleston. We'll give a shout out to our friends at the Field of 68. They are broadcasting this game on YouTube, and that is at 7 Eastern. Both those programs now have first-year coaches. John Jacobs running FAU, and then Chris Mack is the head man at Charleston. That could be a pretty good one there. And Charleston has a key point guard who has been cleared and will return in this game. He has not played for about 10 months or so. Georgia at Georgia Tech's the other Friday game of note. There's some more, but I don't want to run down too late here. 8 Eastern, ESPN Plus, Georgia at Georgia Tech. If Georgia's going to be an NCAA tournament contender, you go and you get this win and you get it done on the road there. Saturday, the pair games to know. Wake Forest at Xavier, noon Eastern on FS1. Skip Prosser Classic, and that's just it's really cool. This series had to take a brief hiatus, but they've brought it back here, and that's an awesome game. Wake Forest at X, noon Eastern on Saturday, and then South Carolina plays at Indiana, 3 Eastern on Peacock on Saturday. Sunday, we got 3 of them. New Mexico at St. John's, which I almost put, but I wanted to capitalize on the Friday stuff. But you got the Patino matchup there, obviously. They're going to play at the Garden, noon Eastern, FS1 on Sunday. Get that going before the NFL stuff gets rolling. 1 Eastern on the Big Ten Network, St. Mary's versus Nebraska. It's at the Pentagon. I included just for GP. He loves himself some Pentagon there, and that's an intriguing one. And then CBS Sports Network, Clemson at Boise State, 1:30 CBS Sports Network on Sunday. Good on Brad Brownell for this could be a massive mistake, but if you win it, man, you talk about like that will be a quad 1 victory on the road in the non-conference. That will carry a lot of cachet once we get to March there. But you got to win it, and they got to go across the country. Boise State, you know how I feel about them. Really, really good team, and here's a really good spot for them. So that's again a 1:30 tip on Sunday on CBS Sports Network. That's your look at a pretty good weekend GP in college hoops. I know you got to get out of here real quick. 60 seconds, 90 seconds tops. We got this. So the Tyson Jake Paul fight, one, like I'm aware that it's happening. I know you're a boxing guy. I never really have been. I figure that's tomorrow night. That's not tonight, is it?
It's tonight.
It is tonight.
At AT&T Stadium in Irving.
Normally
Texas.
Big boxing matches are Saturdays, but
yeah,
okay.
I don't know why it's tonight, but it's tonight, and they're expecting 65,000 people in the stadium, tens of millions to watch it live on Netflix.
After the sun goes down, though, right?
The main card starts at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Right.
I would assume
there won't be the glare that the Cowboys have had to deal with.
Oh no, yeah, I think it'll.
Imagine they're gonna fight Mike Tyson gets knocked out because the sun hits.
It gets dark down here about 5:30 these days, so we won't have a sun issue. I don't think. I'm
worried for this.
Yeah,
boxing real quick for me. Like, I understand its appeal. I just have never been a huge boxing fan, but like. This better not go wrong, man. Like this doesn't sit well with. Now, if Mike Tyson actually wins this thing, it'll be as someone who grew up playing Punch Out on, like, don't get me wrong, but shy of that, if it goes bad, yeah. I mean, yeah. Hopefully there's not a real wrongness of that comes out the other side of this. I know you'll be watching.
I yearn for the days when you'd have 2 boxers in their prime that could create this type of attention as opposed to a spectacle. Fundamentally, I don't think 58-year-olds should be in a ring with 27-year-olds.
We have issues sometimes with college basketball, but like, look at the state of boxing. That this is. Yeah. This is not a good thing for the sport. It's just and I think Dan Wolken at USA Today had a column sort of touching on this. It's not a good thing for the sport, but it is a reflection of America. Like, this is who we are. This is who, like, we. Look at our last presidential election or the last, like, this is who we are. We enjoy spectacles for whatever reason. And this is the biggest spectacle in sports probably of the year. And it'll be for better or worse, it'll be the biggest sporting event in the world today. Maybe in the world, but not in this house. I mean, yeah. Alabama, Purdue, let's go.
Yeah. My kids are fired up for it. Like, we're like actually going to get wings and have a deal and like just experience it. We watched all the lead up documentaries on Netflix. Me and my boys, we sat in the living room last night. We watched Mike Tyson, Michael Spinks fight from 1988. We watched it on YouTube. We dove in, like, seriously. So
get ready to go.
I am. I don't like this. I would rather it not happen, but that it is happening, I will watch. And as someone who was born in the late,
they care about.
Yeah,
probably a lot of people feel the same way, but you gotta watch.
Yeah, so. As somebody born in the late 70s, raised in the 80s, like, I grew up with Mike Tyson. He was the most famous athlete in the world for a period of time, and one of the biggest people in the world.
GP's up against it. We got to get out of here, yeah. But we have a listenership that's some portion of our audience is under 25, even 30 years old. And this was when I was a kid, don't get me wrong, but like, it is hard to put into words how big of a deal Mike Tyson was for a 6-7 year stretch. And some of them were like tomato cans, but it was like, I've heard it explained before. It was like, it's like he left the car running. Like, he got to the arena, got out of the car, put on what he needed to, kicked the crap out of some guy, walked out of the building, and was gone in 12 minutes. Like, it was just like, I gotta go do this. I gotta go knock the absolute snot out of this guy and then get on with my Friday night or whatever. And it's hard to imagine how even for as big as UFC has gotten, like, Conor McGregor, will never have. Boxing could create these mega stars in a way that I don't really think we can ever get back to.
No, that was a time that will probably not be replicated. There's a real part of me that doesn't want to see this larger than life figure from my childhood get beat up at the age of 58. That'll just be sad. But like, Mike Tyson's going to walk into a ring again tonight for the first time as a professional boxer in an official bout sanctioned in 19 years. And, I'll have my eyeballs on it. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Shouts to Devin Downey, Chester, South Carolina. Shouts to Terry Teagle, legend, Huck Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching, listening to the Eye on College Basketball podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify. More of us than there are of them. That needs to be reflected in the comments. So do that. We'll talk to you again on Sunday night. Till then, take care.